everyone, it's Stacie from Stacie's Corner Cafe. I'm in the Berkshires in Massachusetts, and today the heavens, or this afternoon, the heavens seem to open up on us, so I'm sure you can hear the rain as I stand outside the cafe. The cafe is in the Berkshires, which is the westernmost portion of Massachusetts. Oh, of course, big truck. We're about 25 minutes from Tanglewood. I'm not sure if any of you have heard of Tanglewood, but it's where James Taylor plays every summer, and we get droves of people out here to see that concert, along with the Boston Symphony Orchestra. So that's about 25 minutes from the cafe. Hey, Greg, how are ya? So basically, I want to show everybody how the cafe was set up and why we set it up the way we did. And I know a lot of you are worried about opening your own place and making the wrong decisions and possibly not getting the equipment that you need, but I think the biggest thing I want to stress is that change is good, and if you initially set something up and have to add to it later on, it's okay and it works, and so don't stress on those parts of things. I'm going to turn the camera around a little bit and start telling you about outside. If you guys all want to come on as you're joining us and let us know where you're from and just give a hi, just to let me know that you can hear me and I can see you, that would be awesome. I didn't get a facelift before this, but I did get my nails done. So, hey Heather. I'm going to turn us around and I'm going to start this thing out so you don't have to look at my pretty face and glasses all night. So this is our outside seating area. We put this in during COVID. My husband painted all the tables, and this year my son, hey Jen, how are you? Hi Shanlin. My son put together these garden boxes. Hi Priscilla. For us, and our neighbors who own a landscape company and flowers planted all the herbs and vegetables. And if I weren't so sweet, I'd walk out there and show you exactly what we have out there, but I'd melt. So, hi Andrea. I'm going to take you inside the cafe now. We are on vacation this week, so we are closed. Normally we would be closed this time of day anyway, because we close at 3, but we are closed because our daughter is getting married on Friday. So I'm pretty psyched about that. Hi, Cynthia. So when you come in the cafe, you'll see that we have kind of a farmhouse setup. Behind those walls are actually the kitchen. So it is an open kitchen essentially to the cafe. So we always have to be quiet and Heather, you're a nut. Quiet and mind our words so that we don't say the wrong things and the customers can't hear it. So we do have a tower garden that we do cut our fresh veg from and serve to our customers. So as you come in, you'll see that we have space for tables. Massachusetts was pretty strict on their COVID regulations, so we set up dividers between the tables. And my husband also has leukemia, so we were pretty vigilant on following all rules, along with we have 5 grandsons. So this is the inside of my kitchen, the working parts. My line is about 15 feet under the hood. And then this is the counter and part of the bakery area. You'll see we have our triple bay sink, which in Massachusetts is standard regs for, hi Corey, standard regs for running a facility. You have to have at least a 3-bay sink. We do have a dishwasher as well, which is a godsend. So if you are planning on doing something like that, you're gonna want to definitely look into a dishwasher. Hi Nanette. And then this is our hand washing sink, and that's all my rules for all my employees, because you just got to have the rules. Here's my speed rack, which is right next to my convection oven. So when anything comes out of the oven, there's a place to immediately put it to avoid people getting burnt, or just to have it cool in that area is pretty awesome. This is one of, I believe, 3 mixers right now. We just broke one. So this is our mixer that we use for cakes and buttercream frosting and our whipped butter. We do have special mixers. Hi Priscilla, I'm so glad that you're gonna open a storefront. That's awesome news, congratulations. It's a little noisy in here because obviously nobody's in here, so Corey, I think you might need rules for Heather, but hey, Heather, I love you too. The refrigeration units do tend to make a lot of noise. When you get the radio on, when you get people in here, it's a little less noisy. So to me, it sounds very noisy, and I apologize if you can't hear me. Hopefully you can hear me okay. But this is our grill, and this is one of the things that I wanted to talk about. This unit down here is a refrigerated drawer unit. So you can get this as an equipment table and then put like a flat prep table over the top, or you could do something like I have here, which we call our worktop. Thank you, Corey. So our worktop is awesome. We do switch out our cutting boards for whatever items we're cutting. You could get a full cutting board put on the top of that, but it's such an ease of use because underneath is refrigerated, and you can put whatever you'd like in there. I wish that I weren't on vacation right now, because that would be full of food and you would be able to see like the hierarchy of food that we set up even throughout the refrigerators out here. But it's just a nice grab and go. And if you see like the space on the floor between the units, these mats are about 2 feet wide, maybe 2.5 feet. So you can see what we call in the restaurant business pivot points. So you're turning from the grill and turning to your worktop, and you have fewer steps. It's less stress on your knees and body, but it also helps you to you know, just get things done faster. So I know that was a discussion in one of the groups, and a lot of people suggested it, and I highly recommend that if you're going to set up a space, make it so that you can turn back and forth so easily. We've set up a few wonky things, like, so you'll see our imagination flowing. My husband built that counter for me, and then there's a small freezer underneath for anything that we might throw into the fryer or whatever. And then we have up above a microwave stand. So remember, when you're doing your layouts and everything, to go tall, go above your reach so that you can pull down and access things above your head. You have all that space when you get your worktops. Utilize what's above it. So here's a sandwich cooler. It's the next step off of our, I don't think I can turn my phone, so it's the next step off of the grill. So we generally have 2 people in here. My daughter mainly works the grill. She's 23, and then we have a girl who in the summer who's actually only 19 that does all our sandwiches. I used to be in the kitchen, but I've graduated to Cookie World, which is where I love to be. So this has been great for me. So again, you'll see the plates above, the heat lamp to keep the plates warm, and then you have your sandwich cooler that is so handy and awesome, where you can have everything right at your hands to pull out and use. And again, refrigeration underneath. So when you guys are designing your kitchens, instead of thinking about a shelf underneath, think about going shelves above and maybe refrigeration under your eggs, anything like that that you need to pull for your baking needs. It's just so much easier to have it right there at your ready, instead of running to a fridge or whatever. But, and then this oven too. I can't say I'll open it, but it's probably pretty dirty inside, so I'm probably going to be embarrassed. But I can't ask for a better thing. I'm sure Greg has one of these in his space. But then we move on. We have a small bakery case that is refrigerated. when I make cake bars that have pudding in them, or our quiches, those go in there. My fresh eggs from my chickens at my house. But for the most part, my baking items go on shelves outside. I think you saw, I can't believe how many times I'm saying I'm so disappointed in myself. But this is where this is where the cookies are when we have them ready and out. We just took all the last of our cookies either to my house or to my grandsons for them to eat over the next week and enjoy. So now we're gonna walk into the storage spaces of the cafe, which are absolutely awesome. This we call like the vestibule into the bathroom. This is actually a walk-in. My restaurant, good, I'm glad there's another ummer out there. My restaurant has 2 walk-ins, so we took the door off of this one and turned it into, we turned it into a dry storage area. So this is where we don't have many food items that we keep in here because most everything is a scratch made. So it is a lot of our Torani syrups for our coffees, our lattes, our specialty lattes, things like that. And then it's our, I'm gonna do it all day long, and I apologize if you hate ums. Just, tell me to fix my words. More space for plastics, anything to put food in, takeout items. And then our servers or our runners serve our soups. So we have a station in here for soups. And then our freezers. That was the only drawback. When we rented the place, we couldn't turn this second walk-in into a freezer. So we actually have 5 freezers here. So these 3 stand-up freezers, this one we call the meat freezer. That next one is the bread freezer, and then the last one is the dessert freezer. So these are my boxes that we use in the bakery area for our donuts, our turnovers, our pastries, our breakfast tarts. We can't call them Pop-Tarts. Trying to think, and our cookies, like our drop cookies. So anything like that goes in these boxes. This is our storage rack. Prop fridges. I haven't had a prop fridge yet. I have a small sandwich cooler out there, but instead of prop fridges, I have prop hutches because my husband has been awesome enough to paint and find old hutches for me. So underneath this one is our extra jellies and salt and peppers and things like that. But I have 2 over in Cookie World that are prop hutches. So this space here, my husband just procured me some old school lockers so my employees will have a place to put their junk instead of all over the cafe. And then I don't know, Heather, but if he had a brother, well, he does have a brother, but you don't want to date his brother. But I'll find you a man, don't you worry. This is our maintenance area, which is one thing that I mentioned in that other thread is with Massachusetts, we had to have a separate area for maintenance that's obviously away from the food. It has to be so many feet. So we put it in this back area, which originally was a prep area, but when COVID hit and people started getting a little cranky, I moved my Cookie World out front so I could hear them, so I could monitor how people are speaking to my employees. So this is our utility sink, and then our maintenance area, ice machine, more freezers, that's for our bagels and extra ice cream, and then the little freezer is more ice cream. And unfortunately, those are 3 of our tables. With COVID, we had to reduce our amount of people that we could seat in the cafe. We have an employee bathroom here, and then this is my space that I love. This is all my cookie boxes, all my cupcake containers and serving trays, and then the flex boxes for cakes, ice cream cups. And then down there is maintenance. That's where my husband has his very small 8x6 area that he can put his screwdrivers and things. And then this is our walk-in. So tons of drinks, and it's light on food right now because I try to get it to go down as low as possible during vacation time. I don't know how much my Wi-Fi works in the walk-in, so I'm going to be so good question, Heather. When COVID hit, no, and I don't mind answering. When COVID hit on May 15th, we were shut down in Massachusetts to curbside only. And at that time, I had 5 employees working for me, and I stopped taking a pay. I have still not paid myself what I paid myself before, but I did bounce back in revenue and loss of, things like that. We took about a $65,000 loss on that last year, all told with pay and everything. We're looking at close to $150,000. So that was our loss for COVID, but we did change things a little bit to be a little bit more creative. So this wall you're seeing right here, we put up in June of last year. We used to serve our coffee where people could just go up and fill their air pots, and it was bottomless cup. When COVID hit, we no longer did that. We went from glass mugs into disposable coffee and cups, and we serve. We also moved our espresso maker, which was on the line where that blue mixer was. We moved it over here, and now we have a barista. And the barista also serves our ice cream, which we serve 13 flavors. So last year in June, my husband and I sat down and said, what can we do to make COVID a little better? And we decided to add happy food. So that's when cookies, decorated cookies and ice cream came into play. So that's basically what we did there. We just kind of kept bringing the happiness. Nanette, it almost did kill me, but we bounced, and luckily my husband has an awesome job. So I was able to keep all my kids paid and everybody employed, and it just worked out. And now, coming out of it, the worst thing that we're having is just people with lack of patience. So this part of the world is my favorite part. We're walking into cookie world. This is what my husband set up for me. These shelves he found at a restore and painted them. So these drawers down here are prop storage. We have my baking rack for my cookies that need to dry with plastic over it because, there's customers out here too. And then we have a hutch that he painted, and it has all my sprinkles on it. And then there's more props underneath and on top. And then he built me the setup for wrapping my cookies, all my rolls, and then my calendar. And if I didn't have all this stuff and weren't so organized, I would probably go under. Aren't these cookies cute? So those are going out tomorrow, my last thing before the wedding. Wedding is on Friday. So this is Cookie World. That's where we decorate and dehydrate. And thankfully for Sam's Cookie University and everybody on Sugar Cookie Marketing, I've been able to up my game with a Bosch mixer, learn to make my own cutters and things like that. So basically, I love that calendar. Michael's, right? Basically, this is it in a nutshell. I mean, we really just keep changing and creating and working at making it better. I think at this point, and I always say this, at this point, I feel like we're done, but I know that we're probably, going to change things and make things different. And that's the thing that I wanted to stress. I know that in that thread, I'm going to turn this around. I know that in the thread that everybody was asking questions on, that they were concerned about, you know, making and buying the right products. I don't know if you picked up on the back room, there were a couple of units. There was a plate warmer and a small sandwich cooler. I'll throw those on Facebook Marketplace or, you know, something like that, and probably sell them within 2 weeks. And you have to understand, in the kitchen, restaurant, bakery business, items depreciate very, very quickly. So you're probably never going to make your money back, but if you're upping it to a better piece of equipment, then you're doing yourself a service. Anything that you can do to up your game, to make it easier to work, is always the best way to go. Even if when you sell it, you're like, oh my God, you know, I bought that for $1,000 and I'm only selling it for $200. It's okay. It's okay, because you've already probably made your money's worth with it. And then, you know, you are upgrading to a better unit. So just remember that. Does anybody have any questions on layouts or ideas? Or I know this is, you know, being a cafe, it's a lot different than the bakery portion of things, but you did notice like the oven to cooling rack and then the prep tables set up. In the different spots, everything has a rhyme or reason. And I worked with, originally I was a Applebee's kitchen manager. So I was, you know, I trained the managers for all the stores. How did it take you to go from idea? How long did it take you to go from idea to cafe? I was a general manager at a ale house. We had 15 employees. In 2017, they went on a vacation the week of July 4th, and the owner of the building and of the business locked us all out. And I ended up being on unemployment, and I went for an interview at an organic market, and this space was next to that organic market. They couldn't afford me, so they told me that I was, you know, they couldn't afford my wage. So they told me that they couldn't afford me, but the space next door would make a great cafe. So I took a picture of the window and the number and went to my husband. So we came in July, no, it was July of 2017. We signed our lease. We opened November 1st. So November 1st, it took from July to November 1st to get everything in place. And most of the things that help us out are, you know, that held us up, I should say, were like the fire inspection, the zoning. We had to get an architect because this wasn't a sit-down restaurant. So we had to do a few things like that. I think somebody asked, let me see, how long it took you to see a profit once you opened. Great question, Christy. It was probably, we opened in November, so November and December were, you know, just kind of fluff. That first year, I think we did 17,000 in those 2 months, which was, you know, not great, and it made me worry. And then that next year, it wasn't until November that we actually started seeing things that were going to turn the corner. This building had been an old turkey farm, so people were showing up and asking us if we had turkey gravy and if we were selling turkeys and things like that. So for Thanksgiving, we make everything but the turkey, all the sides, all the pies, and the gravy. I sell 184 quarts of gravy every Thanksgiving. So it was that first year in November that we started seeing a profit. So it took us about 12 months. Heather asks, the hardest challenge with owning a brick and mortar? Never having time off. and that's a catch-22. You know, you can make your time off, and I think that with COVID, we've transitioned into, you're welcome, Christy. We've transitioned into seeing the light a little bit more and seeing that family time is important. So we are taking a little bit more time off. So my employees get 2 paid weeks vacation a year because they work really hard. And that's probably pretty much it. We do 2 weeks, and then they get a Christmas bonus based on a percentage of their pay. When do you foresee you will be able to start paying yourself appropriately again? August 1st. So that is, that's what's happened in the restaurant business has been crazy. There are certain things we can't get right now. Ketchup, chicken, bacon has gone up 51%. Eggs have gone up, but we have 22 chickens at home, so I supplement with those, so that helps me out a little bit. So I foresee that August 1st, I'll start paying myself. All through COVID, I have to tell you though, all through COVID, all of our bills were paid. We didn't not pay a bill for the cafe. My car payment and my van payment were all paid. So all those things were taken care of. We didn't have to not pay anything. So that was probably the best way. It was just, I just didn't line my pockets. I still put money every other week. I put money into an IRA, and that still happened. So, I mean, it's, you know, so like I said, there's no play money. I can't have a housekeeper yet. Basically what I'm saying, I have to vacuum my own floors. But that's, you know, that's where we're going. And I think that in order to keep morale up and to keep these young kids that worked for me knowing that there was a light at the end of the tunnel, that, you know, that not paying myself and doing that really worked out well for us. And you're right, Nanette, it's a constant battle to let people know that prices are rising. And I just, you know, sometimes you just nicely say it, and other times it's with a little bit of frustration. But I think that we, you wouldn't like my attitude if you saw me on a regular basis. But, you know, I think that if you take it as a teaching thing with every customer and just let them know, you still get those ones in between that wonder or say something, but they can go home and make their own cookies if they want. But that's basically how I feel. I've had a few people that have said, wow, I can't afford this place. And the other nice thing about my cafe and my prices is that I'm on the cusp of South County, which is a little bit more wealthy. If I were in North County, I probably would have gone under during COVID. People just aren't willing to pay. But being down here in South County, it's been easier for me to raise my prices and to work through it and have people understand. Crystal, you're right. I mean, there are so many construction and builders in this area, and they're all going through the same thing, and it is tough. But I think that as a whole, if we're telling everybody that and being more transparent with people, I think that they're going to understand. I have a bad attitude and want to throw stuff all the time, Greg. You just ask my husband. I think it's funny because, as you know, Greg, from having a storefront, that you have to turn and smile, but then when you turn away, and that's why we do have some walls here, because it just does get a little bit crazy. I think there was one day that I put on my personal Facebook page, is it okay if I burn the work computer and go buy beer? Because it just, all of a sudden, none of the credit cards were going through, and you know how you have days like that, but it was like the whole network went down, and I had a line out the door, and I couldn't get online orders and things like that. So yeah, I wanted to burn every electronic piece of equipment and go do tequila shots for the rest of the day. But you know, it just, I think that the biggest thing here is that, you know, I have a lot of young kids here, so they keep me young. We did TikToks and things like that during COVID, and a lot of it went on their pages, but we did post some to the page itself, so we had some fun. Oh my God, moonshine. Is it flavored? Because I don't know if I should say this on here, but I had my first daughter over moonshine and oysters, you know, so that would probably be troublesome at this point, but I don't think I could drink like that anymore. We have maraschino cherries in the back that we were taking to a cookout, and I asked my I asked my husband to put the vodka in it, and you're welcome, Heather, and he poured the whole thing of vodka in it instead of leaving some of the juice. So, oh my God, 17 flavors of moonshine. Are you a liquor store, or are you selling cheesecake? But anything else? Does anybody have any questions at all? I know that, you know, it's not all cookies here, but it's been a lot of cookies, and I can honestly tell you that had I not started the cookie thing and gone through all the holidays and everything else, I wouldn't be paying myself August 1st, and the cookies have been awesome. I do have a lease. I wish we owned the building. In fact, my husband and I were talking about that today. I think you said you rent lease. Any surprises or things you wish you'd asked was the question. We had, there was an organic market next door to us. So when they moved out, when they went out of business, this giant spider came over to my side. I think it was like a banana spider, but it was probably a giant tarantula, black widow, something venomous that scared the shit out of me scared the crap out of me on October 31st. So it's Halloween and the spider came over. So that was probably the biggest surprise, were the amount of things that came over from the other business when it closed. So we had to actually go and take care of the whole building as far as everything. So that was a surprise. I think I wish I had asked about the heating and cooling system a little bit and known the age of it, because I feel like that's what's given us the most problems. Do you mostly do drop cookies or custom? Good question, Laura. I do probably more, well, not even custom, I would call it. So let me flip this around. So those two shelving units are generally full of custom cookie or royalized cookies. And then on top of that bakery case, we run at the beginning of the week, we always have 10 peanut butter cookies, 10 chocolate chip cookies, 10 oatmeal raisin cookies, 10 sugar cookies, a drop sugar cookie. And then we do 4 of each of those that we stuff with buttercream. And then we do what we call a chaos cookie. So it's semi-sweet potato chips, or semi-sweet chocolate chips, potato chips, pretzels, pecans, raisins are all in it. And then we do an M&M cookie and a chocolate chunk cookie. So, and we bake every day on those drop cookies. We make the batches ahead of time and freeze them. So we probably do a mix of both, an even mix, except at the holidays. Then the custom orders come out because people order holiday sets. They order the paint your owns, they order the decorate your own. So those are, I would have to say that the royalized cookies take more. Highest profit margin cafe item. Lattes and royalized cookies. and probably my drop cookies. I have a 300% markup. Are you seeing rent increases? Not yet. Our lease was up in July of last year, and we haven't gotten a new one. They actually told us during all of COVID to decrease our lease by half. So we were able to do that, and that hasn't gone back up since then. So we haven't seen an increase, but we had in our lease agreement that it was going to be a 3% for the first signing after 3 years, and then it would go up according to cost of living after that. Chaos cookies were, they were born out of COVID. So Sam asks she said, forgive me if I missed this, but do you teach classes and do you rent out your space for showers or whatnot? I just, in July, had my first cookie class. It was so awesome. Thank you to Heather and Corey for all their help on that. I had 10 people at my class at $70 a person, and one of them bought a kit to take home. It was only me who did the class. I didn't do a PowerPoint because the thought of a computer terrifies me to no end. So I actually had a set of cookies that I decorated while walking around, which is very hard. So you really have to have stiffer icing. So I did, which was great. But that was great, and the girls had fun. They brought their own drinks. It was just a great mix of people, and we just had a great time. Although I do know that it took me more than an hour and a half. So I think I was here, it was 6:30 to 9. So, oops. But I still enjoyed myself. I'm trying to look and see if I missed anything. So Courtney asks, okay, dumb question, but what do you mean by 300% markup? So basically, Courtney, if, say, and I'll do it easily, I can buy an egg for 10 cents an egg. If I sell it for 30 cents, it's kind of like multiplying it. So actually, if I sell it for $3 or something like that, I can't even do the math tonight because my brain is absolutely fried. But it's multiplying it 3 times. So basically that's, 3 times your cost is a 300% markup. Yeah, I was actually very scared, Heather, about the $70 ticket price, but I wanted to make sure that, number one, people wanted to be here, and number two, that they understood how much time it took, because of course, you do the cookies and the icing and everything. And although my son was the one who he actually bakes all my rollout cookies for me, and he just learned to flood cookies with me because we had an order for 475 cookies last week going out to a local educational center, and that was a lot of work. It was the same cookie, but it was just a lot of work. So I recruited him and taught him how to flood cookies. But yeah, the $70 ticket was great. That was actually money that I put in my pocket. It was a great class, and it was funny because one of the women who was here had just had her baby shower catered by us, so full catered from hors d'oeuvres right to the cookies that we did for dessert. And then 2 of the other girls I had just done, I had done custom holiday cookies for them, plus a bridal shower, and a couple others had just done holiday cookies. Lee asks, what is your drop cookie price? So a small drop cookie for me which is I think 1 3/4 ounce, somewhere around there, is 95 cents. My monster cookies, which run about 5 ounces, are $3.25. And then my buttercream filled cookies, which are the small drop cookies, the 1.75 ounce with the buttercream in the middle, those are $2.75. I was just watching my husband walk around. I promised him dinner if he came down and helped me clean the cafe before you all saw what it looked like. Actually, the kids came down and did a lot of cleaning today as well, but I had to bribe him. Does anyone have any other questions? You're welcome, Lee. So I hope I answered everybody's questions. I hope that you got something good out of this, and absolutely, if you watch this on the replay, write replay and let me know, that you have a replay, you watched it on the replay, and then I can answer any questions that you put up after that. If you think of something later, I'll be more than glad to share any information with you. Vicky asks, how many employees do I have? I have 7 employees, Vicky. I have 1 full-timer, which is my daughter, who is 23, and then I have 6 others who are part-time. I love Toronto, Cynthia. Thank you, Grammy and Kids Cookies. I'm hoping that it goes off without a hitch. Hi, Elizabeth. My cafe's name is Stacie's Corner Cafe, and it is in Dalton, Massachusetts. Laura asks, with your drop cookies, do you pull them after a certain amount of time? Yes, I do. Our drop cookies are all kept in cake plates with a cover, and if they don't sell within 2 days, they get pulled, but I never have that problem. I generally sell out of all of them every day, and that's because I've learned to use a PARS system. So a PARS system is when you make a chart for every day of the week, and you write your item that you've made, and you write how many you make, and then at the end of the day you write how many are left. And at the end of a 4-week period is generally the great guru, I don't even know, cookie time or food time for charting it. After 4 weeks you can kind of average how many you do per day and figure out how many you need to make fresh every day. So the good part about that is that sometimes we're left with, an oatmeal raisin one, or one of the chaos cookies, because that's our newer cookie, so it was really popular when we first did it, and now that sometimes sits. So I generally will only make like 2 to 3 of those every day. So that's basically how we've learned to do it, so we have fewer stales. Well, I've kept you all for 44 minutes, and I appreciate you all coming on and watching the live. I appreciate you letting me show off my cafe. Sure, Christy, what's your question? The cookies are all weighed out. The cookie dough is weighed out. Somebody asked if they were interested in what size scoop you use for your drop cookies, or do you weigh out the small amounts of dough? And then Christy asks, for your coffees, did the manufacturer come and train? Good question. We've actually just recently changed our coffee equipment over to a different company. We were using a company that was right here in Berkshire County, and although their coffee is wonderful, we found out that they were manufacturing their coffee in New York and bringing it over to the Berkshires. And one of the visions that my husband and I had when we opened our cafe was to try to use as many vendors as we could right from the Berkshires, because when you use a vendor that's in your local county, you're giving 16 cents back to your community with every dollar spent, as opposed to pulling from outside of your county. Only about 7 cents goes back to your county from that money spent. So we went with the one company, and they did not teach us how to run the equipment. I used to be a Dunkin' Donuts training manager. I did a little bit of that with them, so I knew how to change filters and run the equipment, but there is a learning curve. This new company that I'm working with will come in and train, and they actually already came in and they set up a cup for you and help you weigh out. We use whole bean. Let me head over there real quick for you, Christy, just to let you see. I'm going to turn the camera. So we use the bun, which is our new piece of equipment. That's for our regular drip coffee. So we have, we make 2 different sizes. We make a small and a large. So we use like 2.5 ounces of whole bean per small batch and double it for large. So you fill it to that line, and then you drop it in the top of the bun maker and then grind it. And they come in and they set the grind according to their equipment. So they're really wonderful. And then this is my espresso grinder, which I had to finagle and work with a little bit to find a perfect grind, because each espresso machine is really kind of different. And this Unico is can be temperamental, and they actually like a little bigger grind. The finer grind doesn't work so well in this machine. So yeah, our company did come in and help us out a lot. And they have, they also, which is really cool, is they have a lot of blends, and they they roast on Mondays and ship overnight to us on Tuesday. And the same for Thursday to Friday. So that's about it. I think, Christy, was that one last question. And if you saw that handsome fellow over there, that's my hubby, waiting for me to take him out to dinner. So, like I said, if you guys think of anything else after the fact and want to ask a question, throw it at me, and if I can help out, I will. And if you're looking to venture into doing this and opening a brick and mortar, I can, help you out with any answers that you want if you'd like. And if not, just jump, do it. It is worth it, and it can be a lot of fun. It can be a lot of work, but just be prepared for that. All right, everyone, have a great night. Thanks so much. Take care. Bye-bye.